Hello, friends, and welcome to Rise Up in Real Estate, where we are on a quest. We are looking for the extra in the ordinary. And I'm Tad Fulford, and I will be your host on this journey where we will take an honest look at what makes ordinary people extraordinary. Exactly how can we be extra in our personal and our professional lives? In this season of the Rise Up in Real Estate adventure, there will be a monthly rhythm, meaning each month we will have 4 unique episodes. In one episode, we'll tackle a pressing current real estate industry thought. In another, we will chat with a local difference maker in the real estate space. For our 3rd episode, we will host a respected national thought leader. And finally, we will have a 4th bonus and surprise episode. And in each episode, we will be digging into not only what those people think, but who those people are. Along the way, it's my hope that you'll laugh some, you'll be challenged some, you will get inspired some, and if we are lucky, maybe even figure out a way or two you can rise up in your own life and be the best human that you can be. So the challenge is, let's all rise up. Welcome back, Rise Up Nation. Glad you're here for this episode. You're in for a treat. I have a legend, a living legend, and she hates it when I say that. She's shaking her head already. She's like, no. But those of you that are RE/MAX folks know this person. Those of you that are in National Association of Realtors know this person. She's connected in a lot of different ways, and she's a friend of mine. I'm honored to say that, and I'm excited to have Miss Debra Beagle on the show. Debra, I'm excited to have you. Hello.
Hey, Tad. I'm super excited to be here. I love your podcast show, and I am excited to be on here. So
there's like 30 minutes. I mean, how do we even do only 30 minutes with you? I'm not sure. I'm going to try. As a matter of fact, I'm going to hit play on my stopwatch right now because I feel like, and I'm not an expert on Debra Beagle. I'll be the first to admit, but I do know some things about you. I've done my homework. But the way I look at you is you're so multifaceted. Like you have your iron in so many different fires. You seem like that kind of motivates you, though. That excites you, right?
Oh, it sure does. And it's part of real estate too. I mean, we are managing a lot of different things going on in a transaction and just in the business. And you've just got to be able to adapt and be versatile. So, yep, I've got it just kind of like all over.
Moving everywhere. But you seem to give back so much. I mean, this is a small example that I sent you a message and you said, yeah, I'll be on there. And it's 30 minutes out of your day, no big deal, right? But you seem to give back so much tell me some of the associations that you're most passionate about in your day-to-day.
Well, obviously, giving back, I think, and agents at whatever level of their business that they're at, when you give back, you get back tenfold. So your business grows, your knowledge grows by giving and helping others. And I have always been passionate about that. So, that's very critical in my business. And I truly feel that we lead by example, and, our agents see that out there. And if they're sitting out there and they're listening to this, we get so focused into our day-to-day and just surviving and getting through transactions. But I really, really encourage kind of branching out from there. My experience from the very get-go, I was Rookie of the Year my first year in real estate eons ago, but I made a commitment to service and, stepping up and advocating for our clients and for other agents in our business. And by doing that, I actually got to meet more agents. And I can't tell you over the years how many times I have co-opted with agents that I have served on committees with at the local board. And, knowledge is king in this business. I think, just giving back is huge. And in our communities, there's so many different areas to do that. With RE/MAX, if you're a RE/MAX agent, I'm passionate about Children's Miracle Network. I think, making donations to CMN, our office is the number one. I brag on it because it's it's the culture that we built, and you guys are too. We're the number one single office, I think, in the country for donations to CMN. Over the last 6 years, we raised almost 600,000, and that was through the pandemic. So, again, by stepping up and giving to others, it just the bounty comes back. It's a beautiful thing. So, I think, and then my other passion is advocacy, which it's for us as agents and our clients in home ownership. I believe in housing affordability and service. Again, when you start at your local level, you go to the state level, donating to RPAC, the Realtor Political Action Committee. Not donate, it's investing in NAR and RPAC. We're 1099 employee or 1099 independent contractors, not employees. So, NAR fights for that. NAR fights for our mortgage interest deduction. So many realtors in our business don't know the value of NAR. I looked at some numbers. Most in the state of Tennessee, our agents pay $156 a year to NAR. That's it.
Wow.
That's $13 a month to have someone championing and advocating for you at the state level and at the national level to retain your independent contractor status and to fight for, our rights of home ownership and keeping the mortgage interest deduction. And, we had impact fees. They were trying to raise impact fees in our state, and we fought that last year and we won. No, it wasn't that. It was this past spring. So there's so much that is done on our behalf. So again, serving, and I have served on the state. I'm an RPAC trustee for our state of Tennessee as well. So
that's cool. Like you guys have just gotten 4 minutes of Debra, and that's exactly who Debra is. She can't stop helping. Like, it's amazing. And I mean that with all sincerity. Like, I heard this Bible concept years ago, and I never understood it until I got into this business and I really started giving back. The Bible says that the giver is more blessed to give than receive. And in my life, I was like, I like having stuff and getting stuff. But as you give, the blessing just makes sense. When especially like I have children now, as I give presents at Christmas, I don't even care if I get anything. And you're doing it on a big scale too in your industry. So I'm proud of you for that. That's really cool. Take me back just real quickly before we dive into some pretty cool stuff. Take me back. How long have you been in real estate? Where are you? Tell me about your company and your team and stuff like that. We didn't even do that yet. Where are you from and how long have you been in real estate?
Okay. I'm from Ohio, but I went to school in Washington, D.C. at George Washington University, studied chemistry. And going back, oh my gosh, 30 years, I was an environmental consultant.
Okay.
So I did due diligence for commercial transactions. I was like the home inspector for commercial transactions, weirdly, how that sounds. But cool. I checked, on commercial transactions, you have the financial, you have legal, and then you have environmental, which is groundwater, soil contamination, asbestos, radon gas, all that stuff. So I did those and corrective measures for that. My mother kept encouraging me to get my residential real estate license when I got married, started having kids, and she's like, you would be really good at this. So I did. I'm also bilingual. I speak Spanish fluently. And awesome. I worked for a couple builders, helped them with their subcontractors and scheduling because I spoke Spanish. So I could coordinate, did a lot of project management, logistics. And then that led into residential real estate. So, and as we approached the early 2000s, 2008, 9, and 10, the market we crashed. And, but I thrived. I loved listings. I was the listing queen. I'd carry 30, 40 listings and I'd get them sold. So I actually enjoyed the recession, which is kind of crazy on the real estate side, because it really kind of streamlined the industry. A lot of people left that weren't committed to it full time. So the ones that were there, we were grinding and selling houses and doing whatever we could to get listings sold. So I met Gary Ashton, my business partner, who is truly a visionary in, I think it was 2011. And he was doing a lot of buyer side deals. He had a small team of 17 agents doing about 70 million. I was doing about 10 million myself. I had a lot of listings and I didn't have any help. I didn't have any agents to help me with open houses. I didn't have an assistant. Back then I loved photography. So I was shooting my own photos. It was really crazy when I look back at it. And I heard about this guy who had 17 buyer's agents and he was generating leads online, and Zillow wasn't even really Zillow at this point. And I randomly met him one day at a broker open for 6 houses, a luxury listing, and his car was in the shop. And I didn't know who he was when I first met him. And he said, "Hey, can I ride with you to these other open houses?" For 2 hours he rode, and I had another agent with me. So he rode in the back seat and he kept popping his head through, and he was like, we chatted the whole time, and he has a British accent, really funny. And I was like, this guy's pretty cool. And he's sitting back there going, "I'm going to be the official realtors of the Tennessee Titans." And I'm thinking to myself, okay. And earlier in the week, I was in the kitchen at our brokerage and our office at brokerage kitchen, and they were talking about this guy who's generating online leads, and he just sits on his computer and he just punts all these leads out. And I was kind of fascinated. So he rides around with me for 2 hours. I am not connecting that this is the guy that they were talking about in my office. He gets out of the car at the end of the day and he hands me his card after he said he's getting the Titans and doing all this stuff. And I look at the card and I'm like, oh, that was the guy who they were talking about.
Yeah.
So, and sure enough, like a week later, I'm on Facebook and he's riding around Nissan Stadium. He got the Titans. I was like, this guy's legit for real.
Yeah.
So we kind of formed a bond. Ended up, he used to just come sit in my office for days. And then we just felt like we were yin yang. And I kept thinking, I have 30 listings. These agents could come and do my listings. So that was kind of how our partnership formed with the team. He had a team already of 17, and he was doing a lot of really cool lead gen internet. And I was really by referral, traditional real estate grew my business. And then I love to teach and mentor and coach. And he had 17 hungry agents. And we just thought, man, if we put this together, stronger together, more successful. The end of the next year after we combined forces, we did 148 million.
Wow. Were you at Remax then? Either one of you?
I was actually at Coldwell Banker to start, and I got brought over to Remax to work the Nashville Predators account. At the time, that owner had it, and but we ended up with a NHL lockout, and that's where I was just there, just hang. And he would come sit in my office, and he had the Titans, and then he's like, "Why don't you help me with the Titans?" That's kind of how it all started, and now, we have 190 agents and billion in sales and thousands of transactions later. Kind of crazy.
And you are in what market, in case anybody wants to send
Nashville, Tennessee. So, but Gary is truly, we have the intel. He is just one of the most amazing people on the planet. And I couldn't ask for a better business partner. So, we've
shout out to Gary, because I know he's listening to this. He always listens. No, but that's a neat story. What year was that when you guys kind of got together? Was it
that was 2012. Okay. So yeah.
So here you are 11 years later, and you have blown this thing up. And I know you never brag about yourself, Debra. I'm going to brag, but I'm going to get it wrong. But you're the number one team. Is that right? In the US?
In the US, in the world. Yes.
In the world for Remax.
Mm-hmm. Top 10 in the US of all brands. Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. Did you guys hear that top 10? And there are a few teams in the US across all brands, by the way, top 10. That's amazing. And you see Debra, and I hope you take this the right way, but if you saw her at the airport, I mean, she's she carries herself incredibly well, but she's also just your sister. Like, she's just that gal that you can just sit and talk to, and you seem very down to earth, and I appreciate that about you. I've seen you in a lot of environments, so that's really neat. And so you've got this team concept figured out, but how do you I wanted to ask you this too before we dive into the big questions that everybody's expecting, but you seem, for someone with so much success, and I say this with respect, you're still out there getting coached on a regular basis. Like, you are so teachable. Talk to me about that. Like, why are you that way? And I mean, you've already reached the pinnacle of success, right? Why do you keep going to the well?
Oh, because it's about the future. And I never, ever stop learning. I don't think anyone should stop learning and growing in this business. And our business is constantly changing every day, that there's so much out there. And I think this is, again, why Gary and our partnership has worked so well, is because we look at things from different perspectives, and where he is focused on his part of his knowledge and growth, I'm over here, and then we talk, and this is where we're constantly trying to stay ahead of where the market is and go to where the market's going. It's the whole hockey analogy I love to use, look to where the puck's going, not where it is. So, and I think you've got to be constantly learning and growing and coaching. There's so many different types of coaches. There's accountability coaches, there's strategic coaches. There are coaches for different areas of your life that you need someone there to help you. And I talk about operational excellence. That's one of my big talking points. And you've got to, say what you do, write it down. You've got to say what you do, and you just got to start building from there. You've got to say what you do. You've got to inspect what you do and make sure. And that's where the accountability part comes in. You've got to inspect. You've got to look at what you're doing, and then, you've got to improve what you're doing. And that's where the coaching part comes in, because you look at the top athletes, you look at anybody who's top in their business. They're still looking at ways to how they're doing something. How could they do it better? I'm very much about leveraging your time. Also, one thing that I always like to talk about, because this one kind of resonates with people, and it came from my coach, John Sheplack. I really wanted to incorporate, and working out, and it was very hard with my schedule and finding the time. And he had suggested, why don't you bring your workout to you? And that's where I got a mobile trainer. She comes to me. I'm focused on work. When she shows up, I go out, I work out, I come back in. I don't have to spend my travel time there and back. A lot of people have created home gyms for themselves. I like just turning myself over, because I shut the brain part off and I just do whatever she says. So it's very, very therapeutic for me, because I don't have to make a decision or think. I just go do, and she shows up, and I can't say I'm not coming. So it's a twofold there. So both, I have a coach for just business and strategy. And then I also coach. I find I coach some smaller teams, 20 to 30 agents, some smaller broker owners like 50 and under, on scaling, because that's where, when we were at 50, how did we get as big as we are? And there's a lot of pain points along the way, or even from being a single agent, how, I coach internally. I coach some of my agents that want to hit chairman level, or, want to take their business to the next level. And what are the things, I had a good friend of mine, she's also a coach, and she had talked about the 4 quadrants. That's the other big one. Looking at the things that you're really good at and that you love to do, things that you're really good at and that you hate to do, things that you are terrible at but you love to do, and then things that, you just are no good at it and you hate doing it. Those are the first things you start offloading, and hiring people and knowing what your dollar per hour is at any level in this business. What can you have somebody help you do for less dollar per hour than what you're getting paid? So I think did I go way off topic
No.
on that? What was there? Where were we on the question?
No, that was exactly
Growth and
well,
just
you were
talking about the
about
thing.
coaching.
Yeah, and coaching. But I do think, I go back again. You gotta what are the activities that you do in your business, and then inspecting those and auditing those and holding yourself accountable to it, and then being coached.
Do you sell real estate anymore yourself?
So this is interesting because I only do like the high profile. Like Gary and I this summer, actually, our Predators organization had a big turnover with coaching staff and players and staff, and so we had a big crew this summer that came in, and we were all busy and working it. So yes, some, and I've got a couple builders and a few of my personal investors that I still handle just to stay on the pulse of it, and I teach contract class, and I teach negotiations, and I teach home inspections. So those are my big three, and business planning. So I kind of haven't let that go completely yet, but
yeah, well, you have a capacity to handle a lot of things, and it's good to keep your hand in it. What's your favorite thing about this crazy business? Like, can you narrow it down to one thing?
On the agent side, my favorite thing is seeing agents succeed and thrive in opportunity by giving it their all. Because I think people think that they're born and then they have a life that's planned for them, or they're in a life that's just, they've just fallen into, and they don't know that there's another option. And I love seeing agents who come into the business, and there's no glass ceiling. There's, you're an independent contractor. Those that want to work hard and really give and serve, the sky's the limit. So, and that embrace education and helping others. I know it sounds kind of, but it's the truth. I love seeing people that a year ago were making $15,000 a year, maybe serving tables. And this year they're pushing $250,000 a year take home. Their lives have changed. Their families have changed. Their opportunities have changed. And they've helped a lot of people with homeownership. So I think that's I love being a part of that and giving people the hope and the opportunity. So
yeah, I can tell when I asked you that question, like every other question I've asked, you've been very super focused on teaching us something, which I love. Like you gave me the 3 points: say what you do, inspect what you do, improve what you do. And you told me about the 4 quadrants. But when I asked you that question about what's your favorite thing, it's almost like you became a dreamer. I could tell in your mind you were thinking of individuals, and this is impressive. We have a large organization too. And when you have 190 people under your umbrella, and you can think of specific instances of lives that have changed, it seems like that's what you were thinking about. Like you were Sally or John or whoever who've gone from rags to riches because you supported, you created an environment for them to thrive.
Yeah.
If you live or own property along the coast of South Carolina, you probably need insurance. We Insure Advocates is a locally owned independent agency with industry-leading service support. Our team of customer-centric agents can explain your coverage options and help you craft an insurance program that fits your needs and budget. Data-driven for better value, people-led for better service. That's the difference of we. For all of your property insurance needs, please find us at weinsureadvocates.com or call us at 843-491-6990.
My mother came from Cuba in 1963. She was 16 years old, and they took everything from her. She came with just her her dress and her shoes, and they took all her jewelry. They took everything. They took everything from my family. And they came over and they worked hard. My aunt, and when I was a kid, I didn't realize what all they were doing and what trailblazers they were. My mom and my aunt in the 70s and 80s. And then my uncle, he was one of the founders of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce in the US in 1973. Amazing. And as a kid, you just don't really, you don't understand all of that and how, they came with nothing, and through hard work, grit and passion and love for family and giving to others. My mother, if you ever meet my mom has the biggest heart of anywhere. She ended up in human resources, and she truly has a big heart. And so seeing that firsthand, that it's possible, for anybody to be able to succeed if given the opportunity. And I think that's where Gary and we've tried to create systems and processes that if people are open-minded and will step in and want the opportunity, can have huge success. So,
That's awesome. So that I liked that part of Debra, that you showed your heart a little bit there. And thank you for that. Yeah. That's pretty neat. Because I know the people that work for you, are lucky. I mean, you and Gary have created quite a environment for them. And you said something, you said something interesting a minute ago, like something we struggle with too, is they have to want it. Mm-hmm. No matter how perfect the environment is, no matter how great the leads, if you want to call them that, are, or no matter how good the beauty of the office. If you don't have somebody that's just got a little bit of get up and go in there, that's all for naught, isn't it? You got to pick the right ones.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, real estate, it is an evergreen, and it's the longer you're in it, usually if you're in it and you stay, it grows. But it's about consistency. And I think, having good habits or tweaking the habits and the opportunities are there. But I have found a lot of people, it's hard. Real estate is hard because there is no paycheck every day or every, because now with Venmo and all the apps and stuff, people can go out and get money like daily if they wanted in certain fields. Now, and it's the long game. I mean, you've got 30 days usually for escrow, more in other states, but you don't get paid anything until it closes. And sometimes you work all the time and then it doesn't close for whatever reason. So that is mentally challenging for a lot of people. So they do get into the business and come to find out that, that's the lack of stability there until you get the business rolling regularly, where you're having closings every month, is challenging for some. And I understand and can sympathize with that. So it is truly, but for us, I feel we have the systems and processes where we have agents that hit a lot of success if they follow what we do and stick with it. That's the big one.
Yeah, I like that.
That leads into my favorite book, because I think you were going to ask me another question about my favorite.
Yeah, tell me about your book. Let's go there. I love it.
So one of my favorite books, I have two, so I'm going to kind of split, but Atomic Habits is one of my favorite books, because I think for consistency, habits are consistency in whatever shape or form. They could be bad habits, they could be good habits, but how you can change. He really gives you a pathway of how you can change habits and habit stack, and put habits in certain places that, when you finish this, then this happens. So I love that book. And then you partner that with Grit by Angela Duckworth. Those are my two favorites.
You heard it here first. What I'll do is I'll put those, I'll put the links to those in the show notes so people can grab. James Clear is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I tell Darren Hardy, I've done some coaching with Darren Hardy, and he wrote Compound Effect. And I told Darren, and he hates it. I'm like, that James Clear just took it to another level. Like he took a high school class and made it a college class. It's not a light read. I can tell who Debra is. Yeah. intellectually. I'm glad you touched on your Hispanic heritage too. I was going to ask you about that because you said you were fluent, but what a great story from your family where you came from. And I appreciate you being willing to open up and tell us about that. Tell me a little bit about, I know nobody wants to go here, but I do. I want to find out, like, realistically, what do we expect the next 12 to 24 months, do you think?
September was interesting because I went right after Labor Day. I went to the Risk Media in DC, and things started to happen really quick. Anywhere announced that they were offering the settlement because this past Monday, for timing people, when they're listening to this, last Monday was the start of the NAR trial in Kansas City over commissions. And, Sue Yanniconi spoke at the Risk Media. She got off stage, and then the Anywhere announcement came out, and I was like, oh boy, this and the conversations and over the last month. It's interesting because I have been teaching and prepping. I teach contracts for our office, and I have been teaching and prepping our agents. When I teach contracts, I lead off with buyer representation. For the past year and a half, I've been leading off with buyer representation. And it is knowing your value, knowing that you're not just a realtor or a real estate agent, you are a real estate advisor. I think agents now have to look at their clients for the long term and get them to hire them. I think, and this is where, Tad, if you're going to be I want you to hire me as your real estate advisor. I'm going to help you build wealth over the long term. Any real estate question you have, I'm here to help you. I'm going to give you updates on your home. It's a long play. Getting them to hire you as the agent, understanding buyer representation, that I work for the buyer and they are then my client, who later could be a seller or whatever, because the commissions are going to separate. That is inevitable, I think. And separate right now, buyers agents are independent parties to a transaction because they are getting paid from the listing agent. The listing agent has negotiated the commission. In our MLS, if we are a member of our MLS, we have to accept whatever is offered in the MLS. So September 20th, I mean, this is how quickly things are happening. September 20th of last month, RealTrack, our MLS came out with listing agents can now offer listing brokerages can now offer 0. So we just started incorporating, asking for closing costs for buyer's compensation if it's not there, agreement to show property. Our forms, we're having to tweak our forms in Tennessee. There's a lot of stuff that's got to happen. And then I went right from there to NAREP, which is the Hispanic conference. And I talked to one of the people from Fannie Mae there, because for those that are out there listening to this, the lawsuit in Kansas City is about separation of the commission. The sellers are saying they've paid for buyer agent commission, and their listing agent commission, and they feel they should be separated. Well, NAR, what was it, 25, 30 years ago, it was all getting paid to the listing agent, and they were servicing both the buyer and the seller. And this is where NAR helped come up with our commission compensation. So buyers in the lower price points that couldn't afford to pay for their own representation, it was implemented so they could have representation and be a buyer. They could have a buyer's agent. So having said all that, it is coming. The separation is coming. I think buyers are going to have to show their value. They're going to have to get their buyer rep agreements. Maybe that's securing them as their real estate advisor and doing a retainer and then getting paid at closing. But buyers are paying purchase price. The agents are being paid out of that purchase price. While it's coming from the seller side, the buyer's still paying it. So somehow we have to work it out on the paperwork, but it is coming. But this goes to everything that I teach, and I say, you have to be educated. You have to be the best that you can be in this business. Even if you're starting out, get with a brokerage that's going to teach you and encourage you and mentor you to grow, because we need younger agents. I've got some 24, 23, 24, and 25-year-old agents that are, they're spongy. They listen to everything I say and they're doing everything I say. And one served on government affairs. And last week, she actually got asked to be the chair of government affairs at the local level for next year. She was beyond excited. And I was so proud. Anyway, you got to be the best. You got to know the market. You got to be able to service the client as a listing agent, a buyer's agent, and the industry is going where you have to be hired. So and then all of that ties into, I serve on the Residential Real Estate Council as a board of directors at the national level. Top 2% in the country earn their CRS through the Residential Real Estate Council. It's the top designation in the country for realtors. You have to have at least 60 transactions and 30 continuing education hours or volume. So you have to be a true professional. You can join the council, start getting your classes while you're working on it. But that designation, it's kind of the pinnacle in our business. And it shows the commitment to being the very best. And what's interesting too, I have 22 in my office now that have their CRS. We're one of the top offices for CRS designees in the state of Tennessee. So I'm very proud of that. And I encourage everyone listening to look into the Residential Real Estate Council at crs.com and become a member. Because again, it's the top 2% in our industry in the business. So
that's really cool. Debra, where can, if my listeners want to find you, what's the best way to do that? Like social media or what?
Yep. And it's just Debra Beagle. I'm Debra Beagle on Instagram. I'm Debra Beagle on Facebook. And then NashvilleRealEstate.com is our website. And then my personal website's DebraBeagle.com. I'm in the process of updating that website too.
NashvilleRealEstate.com.
Yep. And DebraBeagle.com. Okay. So.
All right. And if I asked you, this is an awkward question for someone that doesn't like to talk about themselves, but what would be what's your superpower, Debra? Like, what do you bring to the table that you feel like people go, oh, she's got that? What is it?
I can bring people together. I think, I think that's and I love bringing diverse groups. I'm all about diversity and inclusion. I think there's strength in that. And I believe there is huge strength in that. And the more perspectives you have on different things, working together for solutions and to carry the business forward, I think and that's what our company is based off of. So we have a very diverse group that we listen to, and bringing those people together, working successfully together is, I think I do that pretty well. So
awesome. It's pretty cool that right now, while we're doing this show, and I don't know when we will air this, but this is the end of October, there are several of our agents are actually in Nashville.
At Jared James,
right down the street. And
yes.
I wanted to say to everybody listening to this, if you don't have a Nashville connection, now you do. You need to find this woman and her team, because it's like you're just going to be handled at a whole nother level. And we talked a little bit about Elizabeth Baker earlier, and I know Elizabeth likes you and sends referrals to you. So we're going to continue to do that. Tell me, last question I want to ask you, then we have to run. What is it that you do? Like, I named this podcast a few years ago, Rise Up in Real Estate, because what I was trying to figure out was, what is it that ordinary people do that's extra? So I call you extraordinary. What is it that they do extra that helps them rise above mediocrity that's in the world? I mean, you got the largest team in the world, most successful. You're going to do $1 billion in sales. You are plugged in and giving away so much stuff. But what is it on a daily basis? Like, get granular with me. What is it that you do daily that makes you that way? Is there something?
Me or my agents or all? It's
just consistent. You personally.
And so me, and again, some days are harder than others, and days you get up and you just have to just keep doing it and keep going and being consistent. And I see it even with agents, and sometimes we're not perfect. So some days and maybe some weeks, it's a little bit slower, and then you just jump right back in and you just get back to the consistency. I think, because I've seen it with agents, the more consistent they are in their doing video text to their clients and touches to their clients and staying consistent on that. it is huge because, again, you're their advisor. You can send them information about anything. The more touches you give to the client, or even me, it's to my agents and stuff. I do our monthly broker birthday breakfast. I do the book club. I do, it's just being consistent with those activities. So, and touches.
Yeah, I like that. Never give up. That's the one thing I say. I don't know how many times I say it, but the only way you can lose is to quit. The only way.
That's the only way. And a lot of times when you're getting ready to quit, it's when that opportunity, if you just stick with it just a little longer, is when the opportunity comes. So
yeah, that's right. And Debra, I wanted to say, like, I forgot to say this in the beginning, but you are the grandmother of, take this the right way, you're the grandmother of our squads that we just launched a year and a half ago here in Myrtle Beach. We heard about this idea from you at, I think probably at a 501 at R4. I feel like I'm in code here, but we implemented the squad system, and it's been incredibly well received here, and they're doing amazing. Like, it's added a whole nother level of intimacy to our organization, which has been neat. So thank you for that.
And that was Gary's idea, because we kept growing and growing, and I kept feeling we were getting so big, and he was like, why don't we do these squads? And then they're like he called them pods at first. And I was like, no, I like squads better. And, so they're about 15 agents and a squad leader, and they're more advocates. Again, you have to have advocates in this business. And that's where NAR comes in the squads. Those are your squad leaders who are mini Tads and Mandys, and, and then it's just connection in a thriving business. And I will end on this, because operational excellence at the agent level and at the team level and at the brokerage level, it comes down to that consistency in the communication, and everyone knowing that we're working together and stronger together to be it if you're one agent with one admin and maybe another agent, there's three of you. It's having the communication, everybody knowing what everybody's doing to help move the needle and keep us together. Because as you grow, that's where you may not talk to that person for a while, or you don't know what they're doing and what you're doing. And that communication is critical. So I'm so happy that you guys got the squads.
Yeah, you are. I want to let me on the show know that this where it came from. This woman right here.
I appreciate that.
Hey, look, I don't often do this, but you can probably see I've taken a lot of notes with our in our time today. I mean, I've got so many things that help me, and I appreciate you donating again your time to the listeners and to me. I really, really appreciate it. I can't wait to see you in California in a few weeks.
At BBS. Awesome.
Thank you, Debra, for your time. I appreciate you very much.
I appreciate it, Tad. Thank you.
Well, hey, that's a wrap, folks. Thank you so much for listening to Rise Up in Real Estate. If you liked hanging out with us today, please find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Rise Up in Real Estate. Also, follow us right now on your favorite podcast host to hear more episodes. We really appreciate you spending some of your time with us. And until next time, let's do each other a favor and all help each other rise up.